Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got four.
I don't see a red light yet, so is the TV station ready? There we go. Yep. I will call this meeting to order at 8:31 according to the way I read it. Certification of open meetings requirement has been met, but yes, it has. We have a 21 item agenda.
Move to adopt.
Okay.
I was thinking there should be a change here, number 9.
Move to between 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody understand what we're talking about?
You're gonna move 9 to.
After 12. He made the second. John did. Second with.
Because I think that one of the positions we're talking about is having to prove itself as a closed session.
And why would we be discussing items he wants to talk about until he's officially put in?
He is officially in though, isn't he?
No, we have to do that today.
Well, you're gonna send it to county board. It'll be okay to
Yeah.
county board in August.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it comes through this committee, so it's gotta be
Yeah.
approved here first. So I was thinking that we're approving it, he's discussing it before.
Well, this is a different position though.
Yeah.
He's talking about.
So it
this
wouldn't
isn't-
matter? If it don't matter, then we'll just leave it as
You can move it down. That's no problem.
I'm just thinking,
We just
you
gotta
know,
make sure he gets down here.
he would be in a more official capacity, sort of, after we recommend
Oh, I see what
appointment.
you're talking about.
We did approve it at committee.
Yeah.
Or, no,
I
we
think
approved it
No,
at personnel, or
we-
interview.
Interview.
Interview, we approved it first to bring up to this
So it hasn't
committee.
gone through this committee yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're going to move item 9 to after 12. Do I have that correct?
Okay.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried. Minutes from the previous meetings.
Move to approve.
Second, okay. Questions, comments, adjustments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried. At this point, we open up to a public comment period. 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members may be present in person, call in to make such comments. To comment by telephone, please call 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended or curtailed at the discretion of the committee/board chair after advisement by committee board. I don't see the phone ringing. I don't see anybody here. We'll leave it open for now. If somebody wants to call in, call and we'll adjust. Move on to county sales tax update.
Oh, somebody turned my mic on already. Our collection this time for July was gotten in July, it was $220,636.39, which is about 2,000 short of last year's, higher than the year before. So we're at $1,036,359.48 for the year, and that is still about 18,000 ahead of last year.
Any questions on the sales tax? Okay. General fund update.
The general fund update, the changes that were made at the July county board meeting, the county administrator recruitment of 20,000 and the highway maintenance of 450,000 brings our total general fund down to 2,422,119.27.
Okay.
That's it for that one.
Okay. That sounded like a question mark at the end. That's why I was waiting for more.
Any questions? How's that?
Anybody with any questions on the general fund? Okay. Okay. Item 8, department reports / requests. Item A is a quarterly update by Rose Autumn. Register deeds.
I sent everything in the packets, and everything, the revenues or the documents were down, but, the property sold for more, so we get 20% of the transfer fee, so that's why we met the, projected revenues we made. Probably $763 more than in 21. So 22 we were okay. 23, it might be a little bit, we'll be short in revenues because things have slowed down. Sales have slowed down, so it's not as busy as it was. I just wanted to talk, I'm going to talk about this. It's a resolution that was passed by the full county board, and I don't know if I want to pass that down. I just wanted to talk to you about it a little bit because with Rick leaving, I was a little concerned that this document was not corrected. So it's been going on since probably November is when the full county board signed it. So
There's nobody else.
when Rick said that he was leaving, I wanted to make sure that it was corrected in Paul's office and in my office. Mike Corman was the drafter, but it seems like for the last 9 months, he hasn't made any attempt to correct it, and I think it's important. What it is, it's an easement across a lot in Trempealeau County that Trempealeau County owns in Trempealeau. So it's something that needs to be corrected. It may not cause a problem today or tomorrow, but down the road it might. So it's better to have it fixed. So that's going before property, and then it's going to go through a full county board. But I just wanted you to be aware of it, that that's why I'm bringing it, because it needs to be corrected. Does anybody have any question? I'm sorry, Bridget, you don't have a copy of it, but it's a copy of it's granting an easement from the village of Trempealeau to, from the county. So it's a lot that the county owns in Trempealeau, and it's a permanent utility easement across this, and there's errors in the legal description. They're highlighted on that plat of survey. Those are the corrections that have been made. So there is a corrected document that is going to be before the committee and before the full county board, and Rick is aware of it. He's helping us. And I don't think this will happen again. The county, oops, sorry.
Nope, sorry. I just wanted to let you know I am aware of it and I have seen that.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I don't think this will happen again because we have the county surveyor now under Ann. So, it's important to have these offices that are dealing with these type of things under people that understand this type of work. So I'm thankful that the county Environment Land Use Committee voted to put the surveyor under Ann's department. Anybody have any questions?
Comment maybe, unless somebody else has something first. This is the original easement.
That's the original problem.
At land use last week, we did approve from land use's point of view the adjustments needed to make this accurate.
Correct.
So that will be coming to full county board next week, 2 weeks, whenever it is.
And
What's
it'll
that?
go to the
Yeah.
property committee first.
First, yeah,
Dave Borsch is, yep.
so.
But we'll get it fixed so that it's
Okay,
not a
yep.
problem.
Okay.
Eventually it'll sink in.
Any questions? Comments?
Other than that, I guess not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
Yeah, thanks.
Quarterly update from the county treasurer, Lori.
Good morning.
Morning.
You should have received my report with your agenda. Interest rates are continuing to go up, so as far as our investments, that's good news. We're far ahead of where we were last year at this time with investment income. almost 400,000 more at the end of June than we were at last year. And we have 7.6 million more invested now than we did at last year at this time. And I'm guessing that our interest income will exceed our budgeted amount by over $1 million if the interest rates keep up the way they are. Yeah. And delinquencies, tax delinquencies are about where they were last year, just a little bit less. I don't know about second installment collections yet. We're still getting some payments in. And usually I measure that at the time we take tax certificates, September 1st. So next report, I can give you a better idea on that. Any questions?
How did we come to have more money to investment this year than last year?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Paul, do you know why we have so much more?
I would say it's because of we still have a lot of money from the Justice Center.
Okay.
She's still got money invested
No,
there.
that's not including that at all.
Oh,
That 7 point some million does
Doesn't?
not include the Justice Center money.
or the bonds that we took out, the
No.
6 million? Neither one of those. Then I can't
Well,
answer.
probably the highway bond it does, the one
Which-
that we took out this year, the highway and sheriff's
The 4
department.
million?
Yeah,
Well, that, okay, yeah. Yeah, we just got that in June, right?
right.
That 4 million, so none of that has been spent, I don't think yet.
Yes, it has.
Highway spent some already?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
But that might be one of them anyway.
Okay. Just seems strange to me that
Yeah,
I didn't know of any new major, and still we've got more, which is, more is good.
right.
So, okay. Any other questions? Thank you. Next is web mapping with Ann from Land Records.
All right, I think I'm set. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you remember, a few months back, I talked about our current web mapping data or website wasn't going to be supported. So we went ahead and got a new one, and I just thought I'd show a few things from it. And I'm not sure if you all know how to even get to our property map search. There's a button right on our Trempealeau County main page. And you have to read this whole disclaimer. And then here's our new property search and our new online mapping. We have our old mapping up for the people who still don't want to pull the trigger and learn the new one. We'll take it off as soon as we get everything buttoned up on the new one. So the new website's always going to ask to know your location, because it will track where people are searching for information in Trempealeau County. And I'll show you that in a second. But you have the ability to make the website, when you open it, the way you want to see it every time. So if you don't ever want to see zoning, you can click that off, and then next time you open it, you won't see the zoning. I think last time I opened it, I was looking at mine information. And that's what you see these orange things are. So it's the same information we had on our other website, just a different format. And as far as the beacon goes, they've been consistently the same looking. There hasn't been any major updates. There hasn't been any, we're going to change it all up because, we can't support that old site anymore. It's been that way for over 25 years. So it would be nice to have something consistent. It's also consistent with a lot of our surrounding counties. So If you're a realtor working in Trempealeau County, but you do have property that you want to sell in other counties, they're going to be used to this same platform. They won't have to switch back and forth. Like I said, it's going to ask you for your location, and I'll show you why. This is something I get to see, and I thought you guys would be interested. So this shows me the visitors, how many people have requested data. You can get a login, so it would show me your name, or you can do it just as an anonymous person. So it shows me the hits I'm getting from IP addresses or actual login. It shows me since we started, which was the when did we start? I think it was right here, the 19th. It shows me how many hits we're getting each day and what kind of information they're requesting. You can see it through time, and that'll be something I look at regularly. It also shows me the trends, what days of the week our most hits are, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then times. But what I found most interesting, and I thought you guys would be interested in this is a calculator that shows the hourly rate that I'm making. And when someone comes in to visit me, it's usually about 30 minutes. So that shows you how much money is being saved by me not having to deal with answering those questions that people can stay home and answer themselves. And then it also shows if someone were to come into the courthouse and they spent 30 minutes driving here, spent 30 minutes here and 30 minutes driving home, how much savings we're helping those taxpayers by just looking this up at home. And this is just since the website started, so that'll be updated daily. And you can see the requests, total requests, and the average request per day. I'll just show you a few fun things on the map, and then I'll let Nick highlight some things he wanted to highlight. So you can search for your property. Oops, sorry about that. I'll take it as it is. You can look at different years of orthophotography, and there's a slider. I'll zoom in here. You can see how things have changed, either on your property or someone else's property. Through time, and we'll have our new 2023 photos up there when we get them back.
How often you do that flyover?
Every 3 years. Yep. You can draw on there. I already screwed that up. When you draw, you can see measurements on there. You know, to label them. I'll shut this down. You can draw a polygon, you can draw a line, you can draw a point, you can add a label, and then you can print that out yourself. That's usually what people come in and is for a printout, a paper map of their property or property they're interested in. So, what else am I missing, Nick? Oh, I didn't even get over to the tax side. So, as you can see, when you click on something, you get that information, and then up here, you would get, I think it's here, the results. Try that again. It's a little slow. There. Here's your property summary, which we already had on our old site, but this is just a little different way of looking at it. Your tax history, you won't see tax payments. I'm logged in, so you won't see that if I log out. Let me go back, sorry. There we go. This is what you'll see. Your documents, sales history, and then there's a link to see your tax data here. And then you'll see your tax assessment and permits. What else, Nick?
I think that's it right now.
Does anyone have questions about it?
Is it linked to a permit request, that sort of thing?
When you say permit request, you mean the permits that were pulled?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is my property, and here's, you don't get to actually see the permit, you just see the information about it.
Okay.
But yeah, you can see that there was permits pulled on this property. And you can contact land management about those permits. You would need that permit application number. I think in the future it'd be nice to have that permitting information out there. But yeah, you just get the name and the type of permit. Anybody else have a question?
Interesting.
So another reason we did do this, Iowa, Nick,
Iowa.
is because it's our goal to get our
The building attributes and other data out there.
assessor data.
Yep.
The amount of phone calls we get from the public looking for that assessment data, and we don't have that information in-house, so we have to send them to a whoever the assessor is for that municipality. What we're trying to do, what Nick's trying to do, is make sure that we can have that information and host it online.
You have the assessor for each municipality now? You know who it is?
Yeah,
It's in your book.
it's
Oh,
in that
okay.
book, yeah. The little
Okay.
directory has that information.
The problem is when the public contacts us and they say, well, we've tried calling the assessor 3 times, we're not getting an answer back, and you know how people are today, they want their stuff like now. They don't want to wait for phone calls and everything. So part of the reason why we, went to this type of website was to be able to retrieve data and display it on our website. The old website, we didn't have that ability. And to be able to get the support, Ann's mentioned in the past, it was gonna cost a lot of money, but we would have had to kind of rebuild everything. And here Beacon has it done already because they're in, I want to say it's like 700 municipalities throughout the Midwest and southeastern part of the U.S. So the work is done already. So if you want to put in for 411 Oak Road. There you go. So you can see here in some of the conversations that I've been in the last probably 10 years or less, a lot of people have had issues with putting this data out there because they feel like someone's going to come and rob your house or do something bad. So you can see in that upper right hand corner, there's 3 pictures there of the house. And a lot of people have issues with putting pictures out there and everything. And a lot of us that are in land information try telling the naysayers about this that you can go out to Google and go to Street View and get all the same information. It's just, nothing's private anymore. So in Shelby County, Iowa, the assessor there includes pictures. And I guess got to kind of back up a little bit. What's unique about Wisconsin is contractual assessors. So each municipality contracts their assessor. Wisconsin and New York are the only states that do that. Every other state and county has their own employee that's the assessor. So the data is easily accessible. That's kind of where the issues we have here in Wisconsin is to be able to retrieve the data. So they have a little bit more flexibility on what they want to put out there, but we're slowly picking apart this as people are more comfortable going out to county websites to retrieve data instead of making a phone call. Like I said, it's just the efficiencies with it. So you'll see in the upper part of the left-hand side of the screen, it's no different than what our website is showing. It's got the parcel number, property address, the acres. They put a net acres on there. That's something that we don't do. And basically the net acres is you take that gross acres. If there's a road right away, they subtract that off of there. That's why it dropped down to 34 acres. It gives the owner history as far as the current owner, the land size, 34 acres. Now, what's different in Shelby County versus what we're offering here in Trempealeau County, or basically any place in the state of Wisconsin except for some of the larger cities that have their own in-house assessing, is what you see there for residential dwellings. That information right there is what's on the property record card and what we receive the most phone calls and requests for. And basically that's what type of home it is, the condition of the home, what type of roof, square footage. It gives the number of bedrooms, the basement area, square footage, type of bathrooms, and stuff like that. So that's really what people are after. And then this one gives the square footage of the garage. Here they got some agricultural buildings on site, so the assessor has that broken down on what type of ag buildings it is. And then you go lower than that, and then they got the transfers, so the last documents of record, and they got a link to that. And that's something that we can also offer in the future that will link right to Rose's Fiddler website, which then would require those people to, you have to purchase a copy of your document. But that's just another step that people would have for efficiencies versus having to either come into the building or call for a request. Here, for example, they can apply for their homestead tax credits. That could be something that we could offer in the future with Lori in the treasurer's office if they need to apply for lottery credit, that they would be able to apply. In Iowa, they got some military tax credits. I don't think we have anything like that here. So then they got the valuation of the property. That's what we have right now. Then they got the taxes and the breakdown for the taxes, and then the tax history. And then they have a link to the Iowa Land Records site. If for this example here, if Ann would have clicked on it, you got to have a username password, so it doesn't pay to click on it. And then they got the photos. And then here's another thing that they offered that people had issues with is a sketch of the property. So Ann can click on it, and basically it just gives a very rough sketch of the dimensions of the property, which, you know, some people like to see, especially for realtors. And then they give like an overview of how the home sits with, there must be some type of a grain bin on the property. So Ann, you can close out of that right there. Yep, and then you can then drop down, and then it gives an overview map of the property, and if Ann clicks on it, then it goes right out to the site, and then you are basically right where you were, where Ann was talking about. So these are things that we're slowly hoping to build towards. But another reason why we went to Beacon is because they had everything set up because they're in so many counties. We didn't have to go and search for vendors to kind of write a program to fit our needs. And a lot of like Ann stated, our neighboring counties are going to this site too. So when
Can you
people
go back to that when you just had on?
What's that?
Can you go back to the picture you just had on? Where you had the blue lines outlining property?
Yep.
What's the area between the two blue lines there? Look like a bunch of trees and stuff?
It looks like that could be a road, and maybe, or no, that's a body of water, right?
Looks like water,
Yeah.
Well, it's
So,
and then different ownership through there.
yeah.
so it isn't his taxable property there.
That isn't taxable. It says, yeah, no owner info there.
So I was wondering how we can get the highway off of taxes we have on this. That you pay tax on Highway 53, I pay almost a mile of tax on
Well,
freaking highway.
and see, that's the difference where people don't know, and hopefully we can get that displayed on what the assessor information is. The assessor is going to figure out, like on your property, for example, how much of that roadway falls under your acreage, and then he's going to say, okay, let's say there's 3 acres there, and he's assessing everything else at $100 an acre. He's going to pull out that 3 acres of right of way at $100 an acre off of your value, but you don't see that because you only see your full land value. You don't get a chance to see what the breakdown is, and that's why it's important that we can include that property record card information, because that very well could be on that in that information that Ann shows right there, and that's where that acres comes
So
from.
those acres are taken out.
Are they taken out now?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But see, you don't know that without
Yeah,
making
well,
a
yeah.
phone call to find that information out.
I know I got an argument with the state patrol riding a four-wheeler down the shoulder because I said, this is my land, I should charge you freaking tax for just driving through here. Put up a toll booth. You finally let me go, but.
Well, in those
That was
cases,
bad.
you
I
gotta
had a cabin in my
realize,
cornfield.
you gotta realize what the title is, you know, that whatever jurisdiction it is has a prescriptive easement for a public use roadway. You own the underlying title underneath the roadway, so you can go ahead and try to put a toll booth up, but I don't know how well it's gonna work because within that area, the public has the right to use it,
Right.
so. But this is kind of a rundown of what we have progressed our county website to. Little bit both, like Ann stated, it was the need to get to something because we were losing the support, and also to modernize our offerings to the public. And
good.
anybody can go out to this Beacon
I
site.
have a card for everybody.
And you can go to any of these states and search up people's property.
Hmm.
These are all the states that Beacon works in.
Okay.
And I guess as long as we're talking about websites, and we got Lori down here and even Rose, we're gonna be coming back to exec finance to potentially the budget process. Our current tax and assessment software right now is not gonna be supported. We're gonna have to make an upgrade, so we're working with, right now, 2 vendors in discussing of what they can offer and stuff, but it's gonna be an expensive upgrade that we gotta take, but we're gonna have no choice. We either gonna have to do it now in this budget cycle or work it into the 25, so that's kind of the next thing we'll be discussing.
So this company that's not supporting anymore, are they going out of business? What's happening?
Well, currently we use GCS right now, but they were a locally owned company out of Onalaska, but the owners of that company sold and sold again and sold again. So now they're owned, it's a company called Catalyst out of California. And so they work in a lot of states, a lot of counties in Wisconsin uses that software. There's also another one called Transcendent. And those are the 2 companies we're just kind of getting some quotes from and some demos and seeing what's the best to offer. Not only us in-house, but our end users to use. But right now, we're looking at potential just for the upgrade of anywhere from 50 to 60,000.
If we stay with where we're at.
Either way.
Either way.
Because the Catalyst, they're still offering the same program that we had, but they're doing an upgrade to have a web-based program.
Yep.
And they're requiring us to purchase that.
Yep. So everything is going to web-based, no different than our Beacon website. Everything is going to web-based, and it's allowing these vendors to easily maintain the site versus if things weren't web-based like they are right now. They have to give us upgrades. Every so often, they have to send an upgrade to IT to make those changes. When it's web-based, it just happens, and we don't even know it unless they send us an email.
This 60,000, where we said for the upgrade, that's where basically we're all 3 of your departments then?
Well, basically, it's going to be Lori and myself. They're going to potentially have the ability to link into Rose's software. So Rose doesn't need the upgrade, but we'll have the ability to link into her software.
Okay.
But we have no choice. The module that we're under right now with Catalyst, the old GCS, is not going to be supported. They haven't gave us a solid end date, but at some point, every time Lori and I have gotten quotes through the last year or 2, it's gone up substantially.
What about the permitting part of this? It's GCS.
Yeah, the land management office is doing their own permitting research and stuff like that.
No matter what, we hope to have everything tied together with a parcel number,
Yeah.
just like we do now.
Sounds good.
Hopefully, I'm not opening another can of worms with this question. You said your maps include zoning also.
Yep.
I'm thinking to our rezone requests at land use. Come with a picture out of a book, half the time upside down.
Excuse me.
Would it be possible for the information for our rezone be pulled off there and put on here?
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you. Okay. Any other questions from anybody? If not,
Thanks
thank
for your
you.
time, guys.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Next item with our moving is a closed session. Anybody willing to read that?
So
making-
we're on number 10 now?
I'll make a motion that we move into closed session per Wisconsin statutes, section 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance of an employee or employees in the Veteran Service Office.
Second by Dave. Okay. Roll call vote. Larson, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Dave Bush? Bridget?
Yes.
Okay, we are now in closed session. There we are. Okay, we're back in open session. First item, I guess, is in regard to the Veteran Service Officer and
Yeah, so in closed session, there was discussion regarding the Veteran Service Officer, and this committee does need to make a motion to move a candidate onto full county board for approval. And so at this point in time, that would be the appropriate action to take.
I'm looking for a motion to approve Joe.
I'm making a motion that we approve Bill Barton Boss for the position of Veteran Service Officer, captain on the full county board.
Second. Go ahead.
Okay, one of you got a second in there.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Seems that John didn't have his mic on first for the public. John made the motion to approve him. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of passing this on to county board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard again.
To continue on.
Unless you had something you wanted to talk to us about.
I do.
Because the next item is your item up.
Or do you want to do the other
Should we
item?
do the other one real quick, just so we
Yeah.
can address
Yep.
that one? And then the other item in closed session was in regards to amending ordinance, Trempealeau County Ordinance 2.05, designating the Information Technology Director as the Administrative Coordinator, effective on September 11th. As required by law, we have to have an administrative coordinator, and after discussion, it was, well, I shouldn't speak on behalf of the committee, but there was discussion as to how that would look, and there was a proposed resolution, and I'll turn it over to.
Okay, somebody want to make that motion? To approve the,
I make a motion that we approve the discussion we had in closed session about, you want the name?
Or the position, because it would be to the position.
It's the position of Administrative Coordinator and HR Director in the interim until we get an administrator.
okay.
You want the
Everybody
name or
follow? Is,
Just like I said, the position, that you'd be appointing the Information Technology Director
not?
as
Okay,
that, in that
okay,
role.
oh,
Yep.
and we're appointing an Information Technology Director to that position.
okay. Now, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That will be passed on through, let's see, personnel no, who is it?
Personnel bargaining will meet, they meet prior to, I believe, the county board, and then go on to county board from there.
Okay, yep.
Actually, we're meeting on the 17th.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
that,
Isn't the board the 21st?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was that was it for the items in
Closed
closed
session.
session.
Yep.
Okay. So, we can be discussed.
Paul, are you
Okay.
gonna want us to sign that today, Paul?
I don't have it.
You don't have an official
You
yet.
have to update it anyway.
I do have to add the.
Okay, so we'll just, we can do it, okay.
We're going back to.
Now we'll go
item
back to item 9 originally, the LTE, part-time veteran service and a vehicle purchase with Joe. You're up.
So, I came and spoke to you all the last session regarding hiring an LTE. Since then, there have been some changes within our office and the transportation program. The biggest being one of our volunteer drivers was in an accident with a veteran in the vehicle. Because of that, I decided to attempt to make some adjustments to the way we handle our transportation program. The biggest being no longer having volunteers, or at least no longer using them exclusively. In the last year, the Veteran Service Office paid out over $31,000 for volunteer mileage and meal reimbursement. I took a look at making our LTE position that has already been approved a permanent position instead, and have that person take over as a permanent driver for the county. It would be a 20-hour-a-week position. ADRC pays their Meal on Wheel drivers and things like that about $11 an hour. So that would be my estimation as well for this position. Would be 20 hours a week at $11 an hour to hire a driver, and then also a person who would be in charge of our transportation program. That would take a lot off of both myself and whoever else will be in that office at a later date. That person would then have the responsibility of driving the veterans to and from appointments. We would end up needing to cut down the number of drives we do, which at this time wouldn't be that big of a deal as is. We have gone from having 6 full-time volunteer drivers, full-time being that's every month they were doing quite a bit of drives. Right now we have 3 active drivers. So cutting that down to 1 doing all those drives wouldn't be that huge of a step down. It would also save the county quite a bit of money when it came to how much we're paying out monthly for the volunteer drive program. As part of this whole project, I would like to use the ARPA funds that we received, and then also some other funds that we're going to try and fundraise for to purchase a van that would then be used by the county to be the transportation program's vehicle. That way our volunteer or our driver is no longer using his personal vehicle. We no longer have the issue of if there's an accident, then we're dealing with multiple insurances. It would all just be done through the county. In doing that, the county would become responsible for the upkeep of that vehicle. Part of that role would be that driver who we hire. His job would be to keep the vehicle fueled, keep it in working order. Right now, we have, I believe, just over $15,000 from the ARPA grant that we received. That would be put towards purchasing that van. The rest I would try and fundraise for here in the next couple of months, if you all approve this idea.
I think one more point is, if it gets the van, you could schedule, basically these volunteer drivers now are taking one patient at a time to Tacoma, one to La Crosse or whatever. If you got the van, you could schedule 2, 3, 4 at one time and
Yep.
save a lot.
That would be the biggest change within the transportation program. That was actually what the county had previously. We had a VA van. The VA did give the county a van to utilize. Because of the number of veterans in this county, the VA took that van away. That was before I started working here. However, at that time, veterans were told, these are the days that we have a driver, these are the days you can schedule appointments for drives. We would do something very similar to that. Whereas we have the driver, 4 hours a day, or, these Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, whatever the schedule may be, that would be the day that we could give veterans drives. And I think going back to that model would save us not only the multiple drives that we're doing. For an example, in the month of June, we had upwards of $3,000 just in drives without the meals that we were reimbursing the drivers for. In total, that was 65 drives in the month. Now, the way we track drives is one way. That's the way VA wants it tracked. So, give or take, that was actually little over 30 drives total, round trips, that we were doing in the month. So, estimate around that is 1 a day, was how I was guessing, how I was trying to estimate that out. I really feel like we can stick those veterans who are doing, scheduling these appointments. Hey, you want a drive from us? You got to schedule within this time period. This is how it was done before when we had a van from the VA. Now that we're gonna do it ourselves, I feel like that wouldn't be too big of a difference.
Question, have you checked with the VA to see if the possibility of getting a van again?
Yes, the answer was a resounding no.
Okay.
Yeah. They told us that we're not even eligible to utilize DAV, which is the Disabled American Veteran Organization, which does drives within the larger counties. They do Jackson County, La Crosse County, and Monroe County. They will not even offer us that service because we're too small, in their opinion.
Small in terms of geography or numbers
Small
that are-
within the population of veterans we have that utilize the service. Our veteran population is just over 2,000 compared to La Crosse County, which is over 10,000. So in their opinion, it's just not worth the investment of having that van in our area. They've assisted us a couple of times when we've had urgent issues where a veteran needs to get to Toma, but only because the driver was willing to make that drive. Otherwise, our volunteer program has been doing those drives ourselves. Toma is not a hard drive for us, for our drivers. Neither is La Crosse. That's kind of what, under Steve's guidance, that's what we were sticking to. Or Toma or La Crosse or anything within that kind of circle, we could do volunteer-wise, just because we weren't then paying out as much in mileage. But when I did the breakdown of math, just the amount of mileage we were putting towards all these different drivers, and the adding up was more than how much we would pay for a part-time position, plus the van and its upkeep. So in my head, it just makes more sense for us to do it ourselves and have that van for the county, have that van then do those trips instead of us paying the multiple drivers to do it.
Joe, how often did you and Steve, or do you do the driving yourselves?
We do
Never.
not, never. Mostly because it just was not something we were able to do with our schedules as they were. The biggest issue with that is if Steve or I were to take those drives, it would just become, we wouldn't be in the office to work the claims, which is what our main job is. The transportation program in and of itself is not something within the CVSO community. We're actually one of the only counties around that does a transportation program. The larger counties don't even have one within their VSO office. And I think the reason, from my understanding from Steve and before Steve, was the reason we were doing it is because Toma and the VA would not give us the van to do it. But once they did give us that van and we were using it, when they took the van away, we couldn't just tell the veterans, oh no, we can't do it anymore, we're done. And so that's when the volunteer program started. I know we've had to, on at least 2 occasions to my memory, we've had to pay an outside, beyond a volunteer, to do the drives for us. We had Mark, the deputy at the door, he took a drive for us, and then one of the other deputies, Tim, took a drive for us. Both times were veterans going beyond our normal mileage. Mark took a veteran up to,
Fort Rosie.
which was that?
So Fort Minneapolis.
Yeah, Minneapolis.
No. Snelling?
No.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yep, and then we had another who had to go to Madison for an amputation. So in both cases, it wasn't something our normal drivers could have done. It's not something we were set up to do, so Steve paid that out of pocket kind of thing, out of our transportation budget pocket, but it was not done through the normal means. So having our own driver, instead of having to reach for those kinds of things in those situations, would just be such an easier way of handling everything. And it's just, to your question, more to that point, we just don't have the ability to, myself or Steve, to have done those drives.
Okay, now we've heard the background a little bit. What the question or the request is to make this limited term a full-time, part-time position. Am I hearing that right?
Correct. It would be a part-time position, 20 hours a week.
Okay.
You think you can find a qualified person at $11 an hour?
I already have the person.
Oh, then I guess you.
If possible, I already know who would do it. He's one of our volunteer drivers who he's already expressed interest in doing it as a main source of income. For him, it's not about the money. The issue he had was he was spending more on the upkeep of his own vehicle than he was making in the mileage that we were paying him. And he would have taken every drive we gave him, if possible. He was the most reliable of the drivers we had, and he was volunteering. He has already expressed to me that he would do this without being paid for it. He'd do it as a volunteer if he didn't have to drive his own vehicle. But I would rather him be an employee of the county than do it as a volunteer.
Joe, have you talked to any other departments about utilization of we got, you can at least put 3 people in a car, and we have plenty of cars that we can designate a Monday and a Thursday, and that you use their car, or does the sheriff have one he's going to be selling that you could keep it yourself?
I have not reached that point yet. I wanted to get your guys' input before I went any further when it came to the vehicle things. The big reason for purchasing a vehicle was the fact that I could make it handicap accessible. And if we got a minivan and purchased the kit for it, the same person who I have in mind to be the driver has said he can install the kit for the handicap accessible. ADRC has a handicapped accessible van. They were not able to work with me when it came to what we would need for the number of drives we would need. So that's the reason for the new vehicle, or used, I should say.
What's interesting is you think that ADRC could partner with you since you're basically serving the same community.
It's because they
on one
have.
hand, they're veterans, but on the other hand, they're also
Yep, aging. Yeah.
aging.
The big issue for them is they have so many other drives already, and they utilize the same volunteers we do.
I can confirm that as the ADRC committee, that is true.
Yep, they have
We
the.
have a hard time staffing our own.
Yeah, they have enough trouble
Yeah.
staffing their own
That is
volunteer.
true.
They only have the one van, and everything else is being handled by volunteers. And the issue is that their volunteers are the exact same as mine. We utilize almost exclusively the same population of volunteers, other than 2. So it wouldn't make sense to pass over that many drives to them when I could try and do it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see us do a little bit more research on, county vehicles that we already have. And that, I get the whole handicap thing, but let's start out with one that's not and see what we gotta do to get there.
Okay.
And then, ask some more questions of other departments to say, how can we double utilize? I see vehicles sitting around all the time, right? So I think we should be doing our due diligence. And then let's see if we can find some grants. There's gotta be some other grants somewhere for this kind of a program.
So we already receive a transportation grant from the state. Part of what would continue funding that program, that money would go to paying the salary of the driver plus the gas and upkeep of the vehicle.
And you're saying that 31,000 is what you spent last year for the whole year?
For the fiscal year 2022-2023 was 31, almost 32.
So it stands to reason you could hire a part-time person 20 hours a week and buy a vehicle for that price.
The buying of the vehicle will be done through the $15,000 ARPA grant we already received, and then fundraising. The American Legion has already said they would assist us in a fundraiser to cover that cost of the van.
Oh, that would be good. I'm just saying,
How much
my
is it?
numbers make it sound, it doesn't cost 15 grand a year to buy a vehicle, You can do that and pay for the vehicle in 2 years, is what I'm saying.
Yep, well, I plan on trying to pay for the vehicle outright. We wouldn't buy new, we'd buy used, and I already have some leads on a vehicle that we could get. Fundraising wise, we'd be looking at making up probably 10 to 15,000 more, and then buy the vehicle outright at 30. So then we'd be having just the salary of the driver, and then the upkeep of the vehicle, fuel and maintenance would be the monthly, and that would be under the 31,000 that we already spent last year.
So the people who are driving now, they're not making any money, they're just making
They
the
make
mileage?
the mileage,
You just get the 66.5 cents
65.5 cents.
or 65.
Plus then we reimburse them for meals.
So we wouldn't do that if they were employed,
Correct. If they were employed, they would not get mileage
and meals,
or a meal.
but they would be getting a salary and we'd have to buy a car.
Correct.
So it's kind of a wash.
In the long run, no. Because the $15,000 we already have from the ARPA grant, that's the VSO's office funds already. Then the fundraising would cover whatever remains for the van. Then the salary at $11 an hour would be, I want to say it was 21,000 a year. And then the upkeep of the vehicle would make up the other. So it would be just about equivalent, yes. But in the long run, it would be better for the county because we would not have the issues of a volunteer driver in their personal vehicle getting into a car accident with a veteran in the car.
I'm in favor of moving forward. I guess if you wanted to check out what's available, David has asked about the
Yep.
vehicles that we have here and see where we can get started with that.
Yep, that'll be my next step then.
Yeah, I think that would be a,
Sheriff's office might have a van too, not sure, but they might. It's probably set up with a gate instead of a handicap ramp.
It's okay, we can put a veteran in there, he'll be fine.
I like looking at that, down the road, we can figure out where to get the funds from for the car, whether we get, voluntary money or not, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
But maybe we can get going sooner by, hey, let's see if we can double utilize some of these vehicles that are sitting around.
Okay.
And then, I'm assuming we have to go through the personnel committee to hire another person, one way or the other.
Yeah, if it's creating a position, yes.
Okay.
No additional funds are needed, so you'd be fine there, correct?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, for the new position, correct.
Yeah. So, I think, and then would that have to go through full board?
I believe creating a position it does, yes.
So that's what you need to do.
Okay, and I've already gotten the information from you for that.
Yep.
I just wanted your guys's,
Are we actually creating a new position? Or we're changing a limited term position to a full-time, or
No,
I think we're changing a volunteer.
permanent
to-
part-time?
I think we're changing a volunteer to a regular.
Okay.
Yes.
Regular part.
Yeah, because you're still gonna have an assistant when it's
yes,
all said and done, and you're gonna have a part-time employee, so you're gonna have
correct,
2.5 FTEs now instead of 2.
correct.
So at this point, there is nothing official we do here at this point, right?
I think
Or
we
do we need a mo?
I think-
You gotta do something here, because
this is
Okay, we
our-
gotta start the recommendation of,
Taking action that you
okay,
recommend approval, or you approve it, then- but it still goes on to other committees
right,
for approval.
okay. So, we're
I'll make
looking,
a motion for the approval of the purchase of an LTE employee,
not out,
or the
Part-time.
part-time, oh yeah.
part-time.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
About it anyway.
See you, John.
Now, then we move to item 13. The Discussion and/or action on the record retention schedule ordinance. Which brings Rick up again.
Yes. I'm bombarding you guys today. So every 10 years, the state of Wisconsin revisits its record retention schedule. And this year happens to be the year that they've started earlier, but they issued the new record retention schedule in March of this year. It is available for counties to adopt if they so choose. And we have, our record retention schedule is, sorry, some sorts of noise going on. Our record retention schedule is contained in our ordinances, Chapter 3, I believe it is. And I apologize, I didn't print off the schedule because the schedule is 54 pages long. I did email it to everybody, sorry, I know you don't have your computer with you today, and uploaded it to the program. Again, what the committee does, it's the Public Records Board. What they do is they look at the record retention schedule, look at any changes in the law to determine if there's something out there that requires them to change whatever the record retention is. It's a super, super lengthy document. Historically, my understanding is the county has adopted what the state has issued, and that has been ours. I did send it out to department heads about a month ago. I didn't get any feedback that it was a concern of any kind, and so I'm not aware that there are any concerns regarding it. So being in line with what we've done historically, brought to this committee to see if you want to adopt what it is that the state has issued as a record retention schedule. Again, that's what was done previous time, and so I just thought I'd bring it forward and let you make the decision.
You heard nothing back, and you saw nothing that was any kind of a major change, or have you gone through it yourself at all, or?
I have kind of briefly, I didn't go through every page, but I briefly, one of the big things is the Historical Society. They designate whether or not they need to be notified if certain records are going to be destroyed at the end of the retention period. I mean, just off the top of my head, 90 to 95% of those records, that is waived, so no one ever has to. But there are a few records that do have to be notified to the Historical Society. So that's really kind of the big issue, is making sure who gets notified when those happen. So, but yes, I did send it out, and no department heads reached out back to me that there was any concerns regarding it. So here is the proposed resolution. Again, I didn't attach at this point the actual schedule, only because it's pages and pages and pages. And I thought that might be kind of a waste of printing. So. The only thing that would change with the ordinance is literally the schedule itself. The content wording of the ordinance itself would all remain the same, and then we would just update when the last time that ordinance was revised with the current date. Again, this would go on to the county board from here for approval, since it is an ordinance change.
Rick, who audits whether we're doing this now?
The proper record retention?
Yeah.
There's no official audit. Generally speaking, departments will contact my office if they have questions as to what they can or cannot get rid of. Otherwise, there is no specific record that maintains as to when things are. The only other kind of check on it would be is when someone does a records request, making sure that we provide the records that are at least within the record retention schedule. We have to provide whatever we have physically, but we need to make sure it goes back at least to the record retention.
Are we able to digitize everything? There's some things that we have to do both or something.
A lot of it really depends on department by department and whether they have the funds to digitize things. For example, my office digitized about 5 years ago. HR did about 3 years ago. So each department has to kind of do that on their own. And so as long as but it costs money, and each year there's a fee for it. And so as long as they're able to do that, then we do keep them digitized. Otherwise, like for example, land records, I know that there's still a lot of paper there, not a lot of digital there. But I think it's a cost issue.
We do need a motion on this, then, right?
Correct. If you want to move it on to the county board for approval, yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the record retention schedule.
Second.
I'll second that.
I didn't hear what she said.
She seconded it.
Oh, she seconded.
Yep.
Okay.
Take her.
Okay, we'll give her. Okay, Dave. How about we give her credit for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That way we know she participated.
And then the only thing, if this does get approved by the board, we just have to notify the state of Wisconsin. And so when that happens, we'll fill out the form. John will sign it and we'll move it on. So.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Carried.
bothering you guys.
Okay, have you got one that's official that you want us to sign here today?
Oh, I do have it, yes, I do have it here.
Then I'll have to get a couple. John won't be able to sign it.
Oh,
He didn't hold it.
I suppose, oh, that's true, good point.
Couldn't you swing it by his office?
There's only 3 that are permanent on that whole list.
Rich will
Interesting.
sign it, I'll have, we'll do the.
Rick? The second closed session, we covered that in the first one.
We did, yes, we took care of that.
All records pertaining to veterans service to our county, permanent.
And there's some stuff
Thank you.
that
I mean-
records that they keep for 75.
Yeah, so.
I've taken a load. I'll take it.
Okay.
I've taken stuff down. The nice thing is a receptacle for the Historical Society is the Murphy Library at the University across.
Oh.
So I've taken loads down to them.
Veterans graves, how do you keep track if somebody just dumps the ashes out of a boat or something like that? How do you-
I don't think that's legal
It's not legal, but people
in
still do it.
Wisconsin.
You put a marker on the back of their parents' stone.
There you go.
Put it on the
Experience speaking.
They dump it out of an airplane.
Okay, with that, item 14 and 15, 16 are all covered in the other closed session. So we can move on to discussion action of ARPA funds.
I didn't even make a copy for you this time because there was no change.
No changes.
What? Oh, did you give it? Oh, that's why I didn't have my copy. Okay, that's fine. Thank you, but there isn't any change.
Okay.
We have not transferred any of the money out.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things that might be in Lori's investments. Because we've made, yeah, I did hand it out, because it was like 220,000 in interest. Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
That's just free money for us, but I mean,
Thank you, Rick.
we have not transferred any money out other than the amount that went to veterans.
Okay.
So that all is staying intact, so I'm sure Lori's, and that's,
I have not been privy to any information on where the remodel dollar budget is coming.
they've never asked for any of that money yet, so.
Not asked for, but report on, do they have it put together yet from property that, so
That'll
we
be on property next week.
start having some,
Somebody had an issue with the way his office was or something, a deal, or land management.
oh, yeah, land management, yes.
Now he's gonna have to talk to Burner, then they're gonna come back property, and then it's not gonna happen.
So the bottom line is right now we have, I'm a little confused on this, so it's 1.787 million plus the 220 or?
Well, you don't have to count the 220. I have it separate. But technically, if you go way up at the top, it's 5 million.
Yeah, but you've already allocated.
You've
the
allocated it, but that money
3,600.
is still just sitting in the bank. We haven't spent any of that.
Right, the 1.5 for the Justice Center.
Yep.
The 870,000 for the Justice Center.
Yep,
And the 1.597 for the radio towers.
we have not spent.
None of that's spent.
Nope.
So, but the radio towers, I mean, kiss it goodbye, it's basically done.
Yeah.
The 1.5 and the 870 are still kind of holding out there for whatever we need it for.
Right.
Plus another 1.787,
Correct. That you have
plus
not.
220,000 of interest that's in the general fund,
Right.
kind of, if
Yes.
you wanted to look at it that way.
Yep, you don't have to allocate that if you don't want
So
to.
what I'm getting at, folks, is we really have 2.3, 2.4, 3.4, $4.1 million that we still have left to spend for finishing up the building.
Oh, you could do that. Yep, yep. If you wanted the other 1.7,
Yeah.
is that what's, and that's not allocated?
Because we're still looking at, I mean, we're gonna use up all of our contingency. It's gone, right? We already had the, it's, forget it. We might even have to pay more into that. Hope not, but we still have the whole
Remodel.
remodel and
Yeah.
all that we haven't got
We
We have no
get a
clue.
little bit of money on the safety if we pull that off, isn't that?
The what now?
For safety, that we'd get back. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about for the, workers' comp,
Workers'
self-funded.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that.
If we stay safe.
How much was that? I don't remember.
I think that was 6 figures, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was too. Yeah.
Well, I still think we should hold. We're
I
getting
agree.
lots of interest on
Keep
it.
it- Then we have a
And-
budget to take care of in the end of September.
Right, whenever, we gotta figure out how to close this building out without taking any
I
more
guess,
loans
right, yeah.
out. I don't know, there's a lot of people that are wanting those funds, but
I know.
We
You see it at
basically
the bottom
spent it.
there.
we basically spent it all already, so. Alright.
And anything on FEMA funds?
I have not heard anything. We haven't gotten that last payment yet. Nothing.
We're not gonna, are we?
We're gonna get admin.
Oh, the 80
Yeah.
or 90,000?
But
Yep.
have we ever
We're s-
determined whether we're going to get based on the percentage?
That I have not heard. That. But I would think that was an actual administration cost, so we should get it all, is what I'm banking on anyway.
Do we don't know when that's gonna come though? Can we ask the company that,
I did not too long ago, and they didn't know. It's in the federal hands.
do we need to open a congressional and find out?
No comment on that one.
That was a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Well,
It'll stay on for a while anyway.
Yeah, 24 budget.
Okay, the budgets all went out to all the departments. I'm actually gonna hand out a couple of things here, and there was one thing that you guys wanted discussed. Because we've gotten our audit back,
Yes.
and the auditors will be coming to do their final report to us in September. So we have to decide what the date of that meeting is, so they know when to come.
Why not the next meeting?
That's what I'm talking
Oh.
about, but you don't, because of Labor Day, we don't know. Are you gonna meet on Tuesday, or are you gonna meet the following Monday?
Well, the following Monday is property, so I think we have to meet on
And then there's-
Tuesday.
So it probably will be the fifth.
Tuesday,
I think is it the fourth,
Yeah.
is Labor Day? Yeah.
I think so.
I have that in my head anyway.
Yeah, the 4th is Labor Day.
Labor Day, so I'm thinking the fifth.
That works for me.
We kinda jumped ahead there a little bit, but we're gonna go backwards a little. Okay, as long as you kinda have that date set, then I can give that to the auditors and they'll come. I just handed out also, because it was asked last time, and this technically is part of the budget, all the non-lapsing accounts and the dollar figures at the end of the year. That's what that is. Now, I do know there's a few things that I heard at land management last week's meeting, that they're getting rid of some of their non-lapsing. And they've got like 3 of them on here. And,
What's the total here then?
I don't have grand total. I would stop at where the 101s stop. Because the rest, it's about
Oh.
a little over halfway down. Where you see 3.2 million,
Yeah.
but you take 949,000 away from that, because that's our work comp. And actually what the auditors do, even though this was our actual dollar figure at the end of the year, it was 949, the auditors say, because the way we have it worded in our resolution, that we have to assign 1.2 million, because that's our amount that we designate to have on hand for work comp, even though the books show that it's less than that. I'd have to take 1.2 million away from the unassigned general fund.
So the 940, yeah, you've got that
Yeah,
highlighted.
I show it that way. So
Yeah.
I show what the actual balance was at the end of the year, but then what is actually assigned. And when you go into your financial statements, you'll see that those 2 designations, the assigned and the unassigned.
So how many, I guess a question would be, of all of these funds,
Mhm.
some of them are mandated by the state or federal, or who knows what, that we have to keep this in. How many of them did we designate as a county or department that said, hey, we just like to do this?
If you look on each, we can start well, just maybe about 6 down where it says IT CAD mapping.
Yep.
I always put in parentheses afterwards, the date that you guys passed a resolution to make that non-lapsing. So you'll see that in quite a few items.
So anywhere where there's a parenthesis with a date,
Yep.
Are
Where
ones
county
that
board
we just-
acted on and made it non-lapsing.
so in other words, those are the ones that we could undo and not make lapsing if we wanted to.
If you wanted to, yes.
So you'd have to go through and add all those up to see how much money that is, right?
Yes.
Except
But
workers'
no,
comp, you
at-
gotta leave that one alone.
Dave, you can kind of help me on this because I watched part of the
I watched part of it
DLM.
too.
firsthand. But Mike made some comments that some of his non-lapsings were going to be gotten rid of.
Yeah, rid of,
And
yeah.
so I went in and he has about $103,000 of non-lapsing monies.
Mhm.
And if that's the case, that money would go back to the general fund.
Who?
Land management.
Oh, land man.
Would it go back to the general fund, or can he,
Well,
in
if
the new
he spends
budget,
it during this year,
spend it during this year?
then it's gone. But
Okay.
it will not carry over to the
Carry
next
over.
year.
Well, so that was, I mean, I hope they don't spend money just for the sake of spending money.
No.
That would be an integrity issue, in my opinion. But I asked Paul to pull this together. Thank you, Paul. This is good. Because when we're going through the budgeting process this year, if we run into oh my gosh, where are we gonna come up with another 400 grand? We might have it right here. We would just have to go to the full board and say, hey, resolution for this one time only, strip all the funds out of the, non-lapsing accounts if you haven't spent it by now. And hey, if they need more money, they gotta come back to us out of the general fund, it kind of forces them to be a little bit more miserly if we need to. I'm not suggesting we have to go down that path, but I think we should have that as a, last ditch effort, string to pull to help us make our budget.
This is at least my 4th year
Oh.
on
Yep. No,
budget, and we've had what you're talking about. We're scrambling every year.
Right, last year was
We
like
don't know where
300
the
grand
money's
we're trying
coming
to find,
from.
right?
Bridget wants.
Bridget,
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah. Question for Paul is on that list. Does that list include certain like grant funded items that can only be spent for, because I know we've passed some non-lapsing accounts with the Board of Health, but those are not funds that can be used for anything else.
That is correct. Yeah, if
So
you
are
look
those on
downward,
that list?
yeah, if you look at, well, you'll have to see it when you come in anyway,
Right,
Bridget,
that's
but
fine.
down under where it says Fund 201, after all the 101s, then it's a 201.
yeah.
That's 201s is the health department. And they have car seat program, they have their WIMCR, the TB dispensary program, and their agent status, which, I didn't put the date on that. You just made that a non-lapsing in the last,
Yeah, in the last
few months.
maybe
I forgot
2
to
or
put that
3
on
months.
there.
Right.
Yep, those monies are
There's also
designated and would have to
non-
stay.
There's
but-
also
and then-
some non-lapsing accounts for human services as well. So I guess I
Yep.
just didn't want the committee to believe that everything that they are looking at could potentially be taken or changed and then moved, whether it be for a year or multiple things. Those types of accounts, to the best of my knowledge, must remain that way. Is that correct, Paul?
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah, my suggestion was, obviously to leave those alone because we can't do them. But those that the county, our own
Can.
cells have said, hey, let's designate this money. Well, if it hasn't been spent for whatever it was designated for, we can redesignate it to meet our budget. is what I'm suggesting. And if I did the
Yeah.
math right here, it's only about 180,000, something like that, if I'm looking at it right.
But I think every place that we can redistribute where the greater need is, yeah, that would be excellent.
Yeah, I mean, let's exaggerate to make it more obvious. So let's say over the next 50 years, we had $80 million in designated funds that we're not spending. Well, obviously, we don't need that money because we've amassed $80 million, or for example, right? So we don't need it to be designated in that way. So it's not $80 million. It's only about 180,000 or something. Real quick math.
Yeah.
I don't know, Paul, what that would be, but hey, 180 is 180 that, we wouldn't have to figure out where we're gonna get, so.
Right.
And then, again, we would just tell the departments, if we had to do that, that if you really need money for that designated account that we took from you, come back to the board and, we can look at the general fund.
There you go.
And then we start from scratch again next year. But let's hope we don't have
And
to do that.
one good example is if you look about the fifth one down, elections, I had to go to county board this year and ask for money because I ran out. And you're gonna be
We're going
eye-opener when I've done that budget already and turned it in, so.
We're going paper this year, Paul.
Huh? That's not gonna help because the printing is the part that's expensive. So, but anyway, there will be things, if you hang on to this, and these are also in that financial statement that you got. And I was just going backwards now that we just got this on, what day was it, Thursday last week? Thursday. And so it was very interesting. I shouldn't say this on air, I suppose, because a comment was made that they only got the non-lapsing information at 4:29 on Friday. Or on Thursday, was it on Thursday? It was on Thursday or whatever.
Well,
And it
no,
was only,
land use was Wednesday, so I think it was Tuesday. It was the claim.
yeah, okay. I had gotten it on the afternoon UPS that day. And the reason that department got their numbers is because I was working with their bookkeeper at the time, and I said, well, I just got it, so I might as well give it to you. And so she was going straight home from my office. So yes, 4:29 was the time that she got it. Nobody else in the county got it at 4:29.
Right, yep.
They all got it the next day,
Yep.
type thing, so.
Mhm.
So anyway, budgets are starting to come in. I haven't gotten enough to get any indication, but everybody has been instructed to be that 1%. I can tell you right now that elections is probably a 100% increase. Oh, we don't even know health insurance. We're using the 23 rates. So that'll be something that personnel will have to work on also, is the contingency fund. Which means.
Have you heard anything more on the other side of the issue, money coming from the state? There was the one put out, about 970,000.
42 or something like
nine
that.
something.
950, right? That we're getting that much more in shared revenues, yes.
Yeah.
How much was it?
950, around 950, I think
Okay,
it
that was the
I
final
didn't-
number,
yeah.
okay.
That's the
We
county.
usually
and then-
get 1.6 to 1.7, right in there, every year. Now we're getting an additional 900,
Oh, this will be the additional,
yeah.
okay.
And
Well,
then
we got
the
money
next
coming in
year,
from everywhere.
Which doesn't come out to the 1% of the 5% sales tax.
no, and then the next year, the following, that'd be for 2025,
It's 3.2.
we should be at that. It's only like $200,000 increase.
Mhm.
And that's where you're talking about that 0.5%.
Yep.
Doesn't come out to,
So,
Well, the schools is gonna eat it all up if it's true the way he signed it. They're gonna get a constant.
for
Supposedly.
402 years.
Yeah. I don't know how that can work out, but we'll see.
So anyway,
Okay.
You guys got the financial statements and the,
Hang on to these for the September meeting. then.
right.
Well, we'll discuss these at our next month's
You're gonna
exec finance meeting.
right,
Yeah.
because the auditors will be for that. The rest will get it after you've been presented by the auditors.
Are we gonna start looking at calendars for the whole budget?
You're going to have to, you can do that at your September meeting, because it's usually that last week in September or the first week in October.
So September 5th, PTAD meets at 8:30.
Nobody on this committee is on PTED,
Right, but I'm saying if they want to.
So-
Here we can do it in Wisconsin.
That's fine.
have they already booked the room, PTED?
It's recurring.
Okay, so we probably will meet in a different room.
I don't have a problem with that.
So we're gonna
Wisconsin,
say
if the auditors
8:30?
come,
Somebody's already got it.
to Wisconsin? We usually go to the Trempealeau.
Where's that?
Down in the basement.
That's for the
That's
full,
for the
for the
when
full
we have
budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
budget hearings there.
Somebody's got that.
Maybe we aren't gonna meet that day. Or after PTED, could it be a little later in the day, maybe?
I can work it. I don't know about anybody else.
If it was on that Tuesday at 10 o'clock rather than at 8:30, PTED's usually done in an hour and a half.
Let's go 11.
And then we
11
go-
on the 5th?
You saying 10 o'clock on that Tuesday?
She's saying 11.
Let's go 11.
11?
11 on the 5th.
With our,
Is that okay, Bridget?
with a regular meeting.
For your
Yeah,
Yeah.
regular meeting, which
That-
the audit.
that should be fine. I think I will be meeting at PTED because we're discussing healthcare center and along with, PTED. So,
That wasn't a separate meeting? That was just gonna be at the
well,
regular?
it could become a separate meeting. I'm just not sure at this point, but that's
Yeah.
okay. So that's
Okay.
fine.
It's somewhat questionable for me, but I guess if I have to miss, I'll have to miss. I've got to work on a couple things here.
Well, Bridget, that meeting that you're talking about for, the healthcare center, Farm Progress Days, County Park? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, that one, they're designating a separate committee, an
Right.
ad hoc committee for that. It was 2 from PTED, 2 from property, and
Healthcare.
one from prep. Health, 2 from healthcare center, 2 from PTED, and 1 from property. Those
Right.
5 people would be meeting.
Right.
So that wouldn't be at the regular PTED meeting.
Okay, great.
Yep, yep. I better make a note here then. You think 11 on the 5th?
Is it important enough that you want to try to look at another day rather than Tuesday, or?
No, let,
Because if you go to
Just because
Wednesday,
of
then you're
change in
On
gone.
Wednesday, I'm already here on Wednesday, yeah.
no, because of change in, well, Wednesday would be better right
Yeah,
now.
that-
I would,
that
I would
won't
work. I don't
know,
know
I
about
would know
it.
I'd be available on Wednesday, but not at 11 o'clock.
But Wednesday morning, we got land use here at 8:30, and I'm on that.
I can't do Wednesday anyway.
Let's stick with Tuesday, and
Tuesday at 11?
I'll know before that, one way or another.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Okay. Next meeting, Tuesday, September 5th at 11 o'clock here. No. Yes?
Someplace.
Yes, someplace.
No, here. Yeah, in this
Yeah,
room.
Okay.
11 a.m., September 5th.
Okay, anything, missing anything along the line here?
Bridget, if you stop in sometime, I'll give you the books. I don't know if you're gonna be in the next few weeks. Otherwise, you,
Yes, I will be in there. It's Wednesday or Thursday, I think it is.
Okay,
Okay?
yep,
With that, I'll
sounds good.
adjourn the meeting at 10:27.
All right.